It is the 27th of October 1962, at the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Only 5 days earlier, President John F. Kennedy issued a so-called quarantine on the island nation of Cuba, in an effort to prevent all Soviet military shipping to Castro's regime. While on patrol, the American carrier USS Randolph and 11 other destroyers detect a Soviet Foxtrot-class B-59 submarine near Cuba, which, unbeknownst to the US Navy, was equipped with a 10-kiloton nuclear torpedo. In an attempt to force this submarine to surface, the US Navy began dropping depth charges around it, and then grenades. With communication with Moscow ceasing for the past few days, and trapped in the sweltering 60 degrees heat in the submarine as the air conditioning was no longer working, the disoriented submarine crew had no idea of what was happening around them, and they feared that World War III had begun. With the relentless grenades falling around them, the Captain Valentin Savitsky and another senior officer decided to launch their nuclear torpedo, with the captain exclaiming, "We're going to blast them now. We will die, but we will sink them all. We will not become the shame of the fleet." Their madness was, however, stopped by the courageous and calm actions of one man, the composed Vasili Arkhipov. This is the historiographer, and in this video, we will explore the day our planet almost went to nuclear war, and how Arkhipov's decision saved the world from mutually assured annihilation. By the 26th of October 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis, which began with American nuclear deployments in Italy and Turkey in 1961, only to be countered by Soviet missile placements in Cuba, had been going on for 11 days. As a result, the US Navy was heavily enforcing the so-called quarantine around Cuba, chasing away the Soviet Foxtrot-class submarines who could not resurface to recharge their batteries due to the risk of being discovered. With a severe lack of electricity, conditions inside these submarines, designed for the cold Arctic conditions, were horrific in the tropical Caribbean climate. Seawater temperatures rose to 80 degrees, while the inside was close to 60. The men, who had suffered most in the heavy weather, began fainting from heat strokes. Aboard the B-59, the air was thin, full of harmful gases like carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and methane. This induced hypoxia, sluggishness, and disorientation amongst the crew. Captain Valentin Savitsky's men languished inside the vessel, suffering from painful cramps. To add insult to injury, the crew was almost certain that a US task group was on their tail. And indeed, from 4:59 p.m. to 5:53, the aircraft carrier USS Randolph and its anti-submarine cohort were dropping charges and hand grenades on a suspected Soviet submarine at the quarantine line near the Sargasso Sea. No one aboard the US squadron knew that the sub they were attacking was Vasili Arkhipov's B-59, armed with a 10-kiloton nuclear torpedo. With just an hour of battery life remaining, the dwindling time for action slipped away, while the lack of oxygen intensified the peril. Furthermore, the crew was blind to their exterior, as communication with Moscow ceased for the past few days. The disoriented submarine crew had no idea of what was happening around them. As far as they were concerned, they already believed that Moscow was a nuclear wasteland, and that action had to come now. Captain Savitsky lost his composure in the asphyxiating madness, saying, "The war has already started up there." The Captain Valentin Savitsky and another senior officer decided to launch their nuclear torpedo. Thankfully, that day, Vasili Arkhipov, the chief of staff of the flotilla whose approval was needed for the launch, was present on board the submarine. The presence of Arkhipov aboard the B-59 was an especially lucky exception for humanity, as, in normal conditions, the decision rested with the captain and the other senior officer. But as Arkhipov was present, and given that he was ranked equal to the submarine's captain, his approval was also needed. Despite the hellish conditions, Vasili Arkhipov calculated that the Americans wouldn't dedicate such significant resources to a diesel submarine if World War III had begun. They would either destroy the sub or ignore it. Vasily grasped the catastrophic implications of attacking a US carrier group, potentially triggering global nuclear chaos. the Russian refused to grant firing permission, keeping his cool in the intense heat. As a result, an intense argument then broke out between the captain and Vasily, and after some minutes, the captain managed to cool down. Vasily persuaded Captain Savitsky to authorize a single sonar ping to gauge the Americans' intentions. The sonar readings indicated that the 3 destroyers on their tail had come to a sudden halt. Upon surfacing, Captain Savitsky issued a stern message to the US Navy's vessels, prompting an apology from the US task group and an end to the confrontation. As for Arkhipov, he went on to have a long career in the Red Navy, becoming a vice admiral. However, he died in 1998 of cancer from nuclear radiation, dying as an unknown hero, only 4 years before the news of his actions became widely known. It wasn't until the 2002 Cuban Missile Crisis Conference that Vasily's story became known. In the conference, the Russians not only revealed that the submarines were equipped with a 10-kiloton nuclear torpedo, but also of Arkhipov's heroism and his ability to make tough decisions in tough conditions. If you like this video, then consider subscribing to spread history. This has been the Historiographer, and for now, see you in the next video.